All right, hello, and welcome to what is going to be my sort of like a real-time strategy tutorial in Unity. This will be a follow-on from my sort of tile tutorial. It's 6 parts long, so just go watch that before if you're just coming in straight from this, because it uses a lot of well, all of it that I built upon. So yeah, so I'll just get you showing what we're doing first. Sorry. Basically, what I've done today is just so you know how you can give in an RTS you give units orders where you want to fight, farm, mine resources or whatever. So I started working on a system that I could do that with. So if you'll see from the last one, I've got a new selection for units. So if I click on the little hoplite dude here and right click, he will now move to that location. And if I just say press there, right click there, he will then go through all of these because I've implemented a queue to have these actions. So once an action is completed, it'll move on to the next action unless, say, there's a looping condition or something. So say if you wanted to continuously mine resources, then you can, basically. So yeah, I will show you how this is made. Okay, so first off, I'm just going to show you the quick changes I made to existing classes from the tile-based system in Unity tutorial. Let's see, on this one, I just added a new method that would let you select units. So pretty much just a carbon copy of the selecting anything with tile with raycast. Basically, it checks for a left mouse click. If you do click the left mouse, gets the mouse's position as a vector 2 of like the camera. It converts the like X and Y coordinate of the screen to a world position, and then it fires a raycast basically from that mouse position downwards. And I'll just wait for the train to pass. Hear that? Choo choo. Okay. So what it does then is it fires the raycast downwards from the mouse position, and it checks if it tries to find the game object that the raycast has hit. That's just to debug what the object has hit. So if it has hit a unit, so we on the units, we've got a unit tag here, and if it does hit it, then it will set it to selected. In like any other case, it won't do anything. And if it doesn't actually hit anything, so if you say you're clicking off the screen or like off the world edge, it'll just say, all right, you've not selected a valid object, so fine, we're not going to do anything. Yeah, and this is just called when the enum for what we are selecting, which you can see here, is set to units. So if I just show you where it is here. So just added an else if to the statement to check that the selection mode is for selecting most units. And then if that's true, then it'll just call it. And yeah, one thing you have to make sure you do, well, for the moment it's a fix for it. I don't know if I'll have to change it at some point, but right now I've had to set the z coordinate of units to -1, so the tiles won't get in the way of the clicking. So if you'll see, like the tiles are at 0, the hoplite is at -1, and the camera is at -10. So the lower the z value, the closer it is towards the camera, until you get to -10, in which case you're behind the camera. So yeah. Next up is the Pathfind. I basically added a 2 checks here to make sure that the target node and start nodes are not null. And if they are, then it'll just return without getting a path. Pretty much. It's like, nah, not happening. No path. There's no way to get to wherever you click, so whatever. That's just like to stop it crashing or return a load of errors or whatever. Next up is a grid generator for a similar reason. I added a try and catch to the get tile. So it'll return grid of tiles X and Y, but if it can't find a tile in grid of tiles, so say if the X or Y or both of them were out of the bounds of the array, then it'll just return null, and that's usually used when we're pathfinding. So it'll return null, and then it'll say, all right, we're trying to get to here because that's where we use it, and it'll just then execute this bit where it'll say, all right, one of these tiles we couldn't find, so we're saying that this path isn't going to a valid location or isn't starting at a valid location. There we go. So we don't want to do that path. So we just break because we don't need to run the rest of this code because we can't. Finally, well, not finally, I've got still loads more to do. But yeah. Next up is the unit order script. This is basically just where I'm going to be storing the different commands for selected units. So at the moment we've got a move, so basically as a boolean that checks if that returns true if the selection mode is selecting units and we have actually got a unit selected. And otherwise it'll just return false. And if this condition is met, so that we've got some selected units, it'll check for a right mouse click, and it'll basically just convert that mouse position to wherever the mouse is to a screen world coordinates, and then goes through each of the selected units, gets the unit master class, and basically gives it the action, adds the action to the queue to move to a location, which this is probably not the order I should be doing this in, but oh well. It then initializes the location. This will make more sense once I've gone over these classes. So this is basically getting the unit class of the unit that is currently selected, or the one that we're going through in a loop. Adds the action. So as an action. So in this case, we're using the action move to location, and then it initializes the action, providing the values that we need. So in this case, we're providing the location where the user's mouse was as a world coordinate when they click the right mouse button, and then we add that to the actions queue, which is basically a list of actions each unit has that it wants to execute. So I think you're giving it orders like, all right, we'll move to location 1, then location 2, then attack enemy, stuff like that. That's basically what the queue does. Okay, now I'll go over the actions script. The actions class is basically, I've tried to create a sort of template, if you will, that will allow, it's basically just trying to think of any kind of action that you'd want to do in an RTS. So say you'd want to go to a location, attack an enemy, gather a resource, whatever. And this is basically a load of virtual voids, or bool. I think there's a couple of bools, or one here, just to check if the action's complete. Basically, the reason for this is that we can have classes to do specific actions. So in this case, we've got a move to location that can override whichever of these methods they need. So say you wanted to I don't know, go do an action. So you wanted to go to a location. So move to location would override this and add its code saying, all right, we're going to get a path from the unit's position to my position, and we're going to do that. And then we'd use the initialize location to set a variable that's only in the move to location action. We just use this method to initialize that, so we don't need it here because not all the actions will have a location. Yeah, that is pretty much the idea of it. I'll show you the action. So this is how the action is. Sorry, this is how it is in practice. So we've got our new variable that's only in this child class of action, so the position that we want to move to. Then we override the initialize location, so we pass in a position, and that is the position we want to go to. Then we override do action, and basically that just gets the unit movement script, which is basically just you pass it in a path or you pass it in a location, and it'll get a path to that and location, and if it's valid, it'll move to it. And this is basically just an override of the condition to mark that the action has been completed. So in this case, if the unit that this action is attached to is within 2 Unity units of the location that we wanted to go to, then it'll return true, otherwise it'll return false. The movement, again, basically what it does, gets a path from the pathfinding class, and sets our movement to true, and the path counts to 0, so that'll just say, alright, we're at the start of the path. Then this is just a check to see if, say, for some reason we've got a path that doesn't have any vector freeze in it, say just by accident or some bug, then it'll just say, are we moving? Because we'll just say, all right, we're not moving because the path doesn't have anything in it. And then we're going to remove the current action, because if the path doesn't have anything in it, then we can't tell if it's finished or not because there's no locations to check. So we just do that and we'll move on to the next action. But if we're not on it, if we are moving and there isn't like a bugged path or whatever, then basically it just checks to see if we're, for each of the, or for the path counter, for the element of current path whose index matches path counter, we check the distance, and if we're more than half a unit away, we just move towards it, which is done by this code. We just get the direction between the current unit and the point we want to move to. Then we just translate them, day times I times time by total time. And if we are close to the next point in the path, then we'll increment the path counter as long as the path counter is less than the total number of elements in the list current path minus 1, because we go to 0 to length minus 1 for a list. And then if we are at the end of a path, then we just say, are we moving to false, and we don't move anymore. Right, final class. I know this is a bit like much of an effort, but whatever. So basically, we got a queue. I don't know if I've actually done this already, but whatever. We've got a queue of actions that we want to do. So say we wanted to move to 3 different locations, as I showed you before. We can just like do that, and then we can go back to here. So you'll see as I click like round, it'll just add actions to the queue. If I go on Hoplite, you'll see he has 3 different actions now, and as he gets to the points, he will remove the top action, and then he'll start executing the new top action in the list. So he's only ever executing element 0 of the list. And you'll see the path. And then since we're at the end of the path, we don't move. And yeah, and if I just right click here, right click there. Yeah, so that's how the queue works. So yeah, basically we just initialize the action queue here. And this is a queue monitor. So basically, if we have an action in the queue, and if the action's not been started yet, because that's a boolean that we have, so action started is false, so that just marks out. So we will call do action on that queue. So say an example for move to location, it will find the unit movement on the game object that it's attached to, and it will move to the position we are moving to, which is initialized by the unit order script where we right click. So we're initializing the location for the mouse point in the world when right click is pressed. And yeah, I need to click on the right class. Yeah. So basically, if the action started as true, it'll check for if the current action has been completed. And if that's true, then it will remove the current action, which is basically just a method to gets the first element of the actions queue and destroys it, and make sure that there's no reference to it in the list anymore. And that'll then start the execution of the next action in the list, provided that there is one. Yeah, that's pretty much all it. Alright, so again, I'll just give a quick demo of what we actually did. Just zoom in a little. Basically, we can right click and a unit will move to a location, and we've started implementing the framework of an action system where we can give unit orders and they'll carry it out one at a time. So if I keep right clicking in this sort of square, I don't know if you can see the cursor, but you'll be able to see roughly where the unit wants to go. Then he will move to that, and we can see that there's a queue of actions that we've added, that we've sort of implemented with the framework I've written. And they're added here and then referenced here, so the unit master class can get it. And yeah, if you have any questions, leave a comment, like, comment, subscribe, all that shit. What else? That has moved actually. 0.4, whatever. Yeah. So if you have, please go check out my stuff on Itch.io. The links will be in the description below. Loud or Quiet, I'm working on new stuff for that. I think I put up something about the FBI files. I was trying to make the cutscenes more interesting. I've been revamping the levels. So yeah, cheers for watching and goodbye.